ladies and gentlemen, and my gravity-defying friend Jimmy. What if I told you there once was a car so confident, so utterly convinced of its own brilliance, that it went into battle against physics itself and lost? No, this isn't a Monty Python sketch. This is the Reliant Robin, the three-wheeled wonder that tried to make motoring affordable for everyone, provided they only wanted to turn left very, very carefully. Before we tip over into this story, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button, because today we're diving headfirst, or possibly side-first, into one of the most endearing engineering misadventures in automotive history. The year was 1973. Britain was facing fuel crises, industrial strikes, and hairstyles that defied both taste and aerodynamics. Amid all that chaos, Reliant, a small British carmaker from Tamworth, had an idea. Why not build a car that was light, cheap, and so efficient that you could practically run it on tea fumes? And thus, the Robin was born, a tiny, fiberglass-bodied three-wheeler that technically wasn't even a car. That's right. Legally, it was classified as a motorcycle with a roof, meaning you could drive it with a motorcycle license and pay less road tax. A loophole so beautiful, the British government would spend decades trying to close it. Under the hood, and I use that word generously, was a 748cc aluminum four-cylinder engine from Reliant's own workshop, pumping out a heroic 40 horsepower on a good day with a tailwind, downhill, and possibly divine intervention. Top speed? Around 85 miles per hour, though most owners will tell you that was less a speed limit and more a suggestion from Satan. Weighing in at just under 450 kilograms, about the same as two Labradors and a suitcase, the Robin was astonishingly efficient. But there was one tiny problem: the wheel layout. See, most cars have 4 wheels, some have 3, but wisely, they put 2 at the front for stability. Reliant? Nah. They thought, let's put 1 wheel at the front. It'll look sleek. And it did until you tried to turn. You see, when a Reliant Robin went into a corner too fast, it didn't understeer or oversteer. It just tipped over to think about what it had done. The front wheel acted like a mischievous compass needle, and the moment you turned sharply, especially with an enthusiastic passenger, the whole car would perform a slow, dramatic pirouette onto its side. And yet, the British public adored it. Why? Because despite all its quirks and occasional gymnastics, it was cheap, cheerful, and absurdly practical. The fiberglass body meant it never rusted. The tiny engine sipped fuel like a polite guest at tea, and with 3 seats and a boot, it was just enough car for a working family on a tight budget. It even had style, sort of. The early models came in bright 1970s colors like harvest gold and sky blue, shades that could cheer up even a rainy day in Wolverhampton. Inside, the Robin was cozy, or as the British say, intimate. You had a speedometer, a few switches, and not much else. No luxury, no airbags, but plenty of heart. By 1976, over 100,000 Robins had been sold, proving that even a slightly unstable car could find stability in the market. Reliant kept tweaking the design, adding sharper lines and even a deluxe trim. But let's be honest, no amount of chrome could change the laws of physics. And that's where pop culture came in. From Only Fools and Horses to Top Gear, the Robin became the butt of countless jokes, quite literally the rolling punchline of British motoring humor. Jeremy Clarkson famously test drove one and spent most of the episode lying sideways. Reliant even complained, saying he'd been deliberately tipped over. Clarkson replied, "That's because it's a Robin." But behind the laughter, there's something genuinely admirable about the little car that wouldn't quit. Reliant's engineers never had billions in R&D. They had grit, duct tape, and the sheer British refusal to accept defeat. They built over 750,000 three-wheelers in total, spanning decades from the Regal and Robin to the Rialto and beyond. Each one whispered the same quiet rebellion. You may mock me, but I get 70 miles per gallon. Even Margaret Thatcher's government loved it well, sort of. The Robin became a symbol of independence for people who couldn't afford a full car. For many, it wasn't a joke, it was freedom. And if it occasionally rolled over, well, you just got out, pushed it upright, and carried on. Try doing that with a Range Rover. By the 1990s, the Robin had achieved cult status. It wasn't just transport, it was personality on wheels. The final run in 2, Thus and 2, marked the end of an era. Reliant, once Britain's proud maker of the improbable, finally called it a day. But the legend didn't die. It just leaned over, dusted itself off, and drove into eternity, carefully avoiding sharp turns. Today, the Reliant Robin stands as both a cautionary tale and a national treasure, a reminder that perfection isn't everything, and sometimes it's the imperfect things that stay in our hearts forever. So the next time someone mocks a Robin, remember this was the car that taught Britain how to laugh at itself while still getting 60 miles to the gallon. And that, my friends, is efficiency and comedy in motion. To our beloved supporters and fellow oddball enthusiasts, we raise a glass, or in this case, a spare wheel, to your continued love for motoring's strangest legends. Until next time, keep your seatbelt fastened, your humor intact, and if you're driving a Reliant Robin, maybe avoid the roundabouts.